Hello, everybody. This is Sevilla I Love. I'm a licensed therapist with over 20 years of experience, and I'm here helping one soul at a time to leave debilitating grief behind for good and to create a life that you love. Now, we're really going to dig in today about this concept of self. Who are you now that you've had this huge loss in your life? Now, some of you may have lost a partner, you may have lost a parent, you, God forbid, may have lost a child. God forbid to all of it. But here we are, standing in this space of loss. And many of us, as we stand here in this space of loss, look in the mirror and go, who the hell are you anyway? Because we define ourselves by our relationships. And when you have this very close, deep relationship that affects every area of your life, or these family relationships that are so important to us, and then all of a sudden that one person is gone and everything changes. The friendships change, the family relationships change, especially if you've lost a parent and there's an estate involved. Oh my goodness, there's more drama around that in families than you can shake a stick at. Now, as a grief and loss expert with over 20 years of experience helping people to overcome these barriers of the massive grief and loss, the debilitating aspects of that, I understand what this can do to somebody's life because I've lived through all of it myself. Now, the only thing I haven't lost is a child. Again, God forbid. And for those of you that are standing in those shoes, I hope that you find some comfort, solace, or information that helps you to move forward here on this page or in other videos that I have. So stay tuned, because in this video, I'm going to show you and talk about the three things you really need to consider and know right now to continue moving forward in this grief and loss process, to be able to understand who you are now, to be able to get that sense of self back, because it's been upended. There's no question about it. If you're here watching this video, you're right there in the midst of it. Now, you could even be several years out and you're just now starting to feel like you're ready to get back into living, loving, trying to own some of your life again, and you're still wondering how do you do it. And you may be at the beginning and you're in this place of, okay, well, now I got to get going with this because stuff's changed. So here's the three things that you need to do right now to rebuild and this sense of self. And then stay tuned. At the end of this video, I'm going to give you my secret sauce to making all of this work. Very important. So number one, okay, take a breath. Number one, big one, big one. This is acceptance. Now, this is one of the final stages of grief, and a lot of times this is the stage where I'm working with people at where they've come into this stage of acceptance, or they're moving into this stage of acceptance. If you don't know what the 5 stages of grief are, hang on to your hats, because I'm going to have a whole series of videos come out on that. But it's different for everyone. But to know that acceptance is one of the final stages of grief. And this is so important for you to understand, that you are now in a place where things are irretrievably changed. Life will never again be the way it was. And that grief will always be a companion to you, but it doesn't have to be your enemy. And it doesn't have to be debilitating to your life. Now, it will have moments where it's debilitating, but it doesn't have to be debilitating over the whole entire course of your life. And this is what I help people through, to find these new stages that work and fit for them based on what they've been through. Now, what acceptance means for many people is that they're no longer fighting against what is. And sadly, what is that that person is gone. Now, when you can move into this stage of acceptance with that, you're no longer waiting for them to come back. Okay? You're no longer making a place for them at the table and then going, oh, I forgot you weren't here. Now, that may still come up from time to time. But it doesn't mean liking it. Okay? This is something you got to understand. Acceptance doesn't mean liking it. It's kind of like forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what they did was okay. Forgiveness means releasing yourself from the burden of carrying them and the pain of what happened. So moving into acceptance is very similar to that, in that you recognize that there's pain, you recognize that there's always going to be grief as a companion, but that this now able to start to lessen a little bit because you're no longer resisting the reality of what's happened and you're ready to start doing something different. You just don't maybe know exactly what that is. You've tried a couple of things and those didn't work. Okay. So number two is to ask yourself, once you've moved into this stage of acceptance, you're kind of playing around in those waters, to start to look at your life and who you are. Where have you been? Who were you when you were a child growing up? What were your hopes and dreams? What were things that you enjoyed doing? Now, some of you have been with a partner since you were, in your teens. Some of you were just with them for a couple of years. So, but there's always this piece of you that is yours and yours alone, outside of the relationship with that parent, with the spouse, even with the child. And there's this unique being of you that has a great purpose in this life. Something very powerful that you're meant to do. Now, powerful doesn't mean big, huge, expansive things where you're going to be on TV and the whole world's going to see it. It can be those quiet, silent moments of impact that you make in the lives of others and in your own growth and development. So I ask you, what is it that's left to build on? What is it that's yours and yours alone, separate from the relationship you held with that person? So if your identity was as a daughter, or if your identity was as a wife or a husband or a parent, who were you before you came into those, except for the parent part because you were born into it? But who were you before you came into that relationship with that other human being in that role? Identify the things that you loved to do and why you loved to do them, not just because of the other person, because we enjoyed going on picnics together, or we enjoyed going to the beach together, or we enjoyed doing crafts together. But did you enjoy doing it because it was something that filled you up, not just because the other person shared it with you? Now, if the whole entire reason is because the other person shared it with you, then that's going to move me into number 3 reason for you to cling on to, hold on to, and practice mightily as you try to recreate a new sense of self in this life after your loss, is to then create new experiences. Now, I'm talking about, could be anything, books, friends, hobbies. No, don't go away yet, because these are important. They seem surface, but these are the little tiny things that make up our lives, that help us to feel fulfilled. Now, it's not enough to just have a hobby or to, go see a friend. But the point in being able to do those is now to move into a state of presence. So you're having a sense of mind and body awareness when you're doing new things and creating this new identity. So you move into it with rational consciousness. You're not just going through the motions of a thing because it's a thing to be done, but you stop, and as you move into it, take a breath. Okay, now this is me picking up a book. This is me picking up a book of something I'd meant to read for the last 20 years and I'd never did. And now I'm going to open the book and I'm going to read it. And I'm going to feel my fingers move down the page. So you're taking in every sensation of doing this new thing. Now, the reason I want you to try to do this fully, this full sensory input into whatever new thing you're going to try out or whatever old thing you're going to pick back up, is because this is going to imprint into your mind, into the whole nervous system of your body, that this is now yours and yours alone. And this will help you to start to create a new attachment to something in a positive way that defines a little piece of you, a little piece of something you enjoy doing. Okay, so conscious involvement. What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like on your skin if you're outside? Really fully take in all of this sensory input when you're doing this new thing. That's going to help it to imprint on your mind and on your heart. And then you'll be able to actually take in the enjoyment of it. So when you're living in grief, sometimes nothing feels fun. Nothing's enjoyable anymore because this person isn't there to share it with you. This is why it's so important to create something just for you, and this is your self-care, but this is how you do it, is with mindful intention, with sensory input attention, and be the observer of what it is that you are doing rather than just going through the motions. Okay, now you're getting down towards the end of this video, and I really have saved the best for last, so hang on to your hats because I've got one more really good tip that's going to pull all of this together into one big usable ball. Okay, now when we're grieving, one of the biggest things we do to sabotage our progress is say, someday I might feel better. Someday when the sun comes out again. I can't imagine things ever feeling good again. Or we might just say something like, well, I haven't gotten it yet, or I'm working on it. You know, someday this will be better. Okay, all of this language is past language or hopeful future language. But what you're not doing in any of that is recognizing what you've already done, the things that you've already accomplished, and they can be very tiny. But it's so important that you not only acknowledge what you've done to be successful, and if you need help from a friend, ask them, what have I made progress on lately? Could you give me some feedback? Ask them. They could say like, you know what, you've actually gotten out of the house a couple of times in the last few months, and you hadn't done that in the previous 6 months. So you're hearing some feedback. So when you hear that, you want to acknowledge it to yourself and say, I am getting better. Not, I hope I'll get better. Not, I'm a person who is sad all the time. No, you start to change your narrative of yourself and you bring it into the present moment. I am getting better. I am feeling a little stronger today. I am getting the dishes done every week. I am starting to look for new jobs. I am feeling a little bit more hopeful rather than I'm never hopeful, because that never, the hopeful, all it does is sabotage your progress, and it's not true. It's not true. It may feel true, but it's rarely ever true. And that's why sometimes we need the feedback of friends. Now, this is what I do with my private clients. If you're interested in that, you can private message me. I have a very tight, small schedule, so I only see a few clients, but it's worth trying for if you'd like some extra help. If not, get a friend and ask a friend to give you some feedback. Write down your progress that you're making and bring your language into the present when you did it. Today, I felt better when I did all of the dishes. Today, I was successful in getting out of bed and going to the store. I am making plans for creating new friendships. Today, I reached out to a new friend. Whatever it is, always bring it to the present moment, okay? So this is the thing. I'm going to do a quick review. Number one, acceptance. This is the stage that you need to be moving into, recognizing that things are never going to be the same again. You don't have to like it, but this is now the reality. And once you've kind of gotten to that, even if you're just a toe into that acceptance stage, you can start to move into the next stage, which is what is left for you to build on. What are you, aside from that individual person that you had a strong bond with that helped to define you in so many ways? What is yours and yours alone, and how can you build on that? And then how can you create new experiences for yourself and bring yourself fully and mindfully into every moment, mind, body, spirit, all of your sensory input, take it in, be the observer of the situation. This will help to imprint the importance of that on you and to help you to create that new identity moving forward. Acknowledging your accomplishments, journal them, write them down, verbalize them to yourself, and then the big tip is to change your verbal narrative about yourself, bringing the narrative into the present moment, into the positive. Always into the positive, not I will, I should, I could, I never. No, get rid of all that. I am making progress. I am acknowledging all of my successes. This is going to help you. It's not going to cure everything, but it's going to move you forward. So I want to thank you today. I want you to check out the next video here, subscribe to my channel, like, and give me your comments below and tell me what's worked for you in helping you to move forward in your grief and loss journey.